Welcome everyone to NitroManiac TV's Wrestling Unlimited. I'm Kellen Nitro, and it's time for NITRO'S Take. This one is on Hell in a Cell. This card went down on October 6, 2019 from the Golden One Center in Sacramento, California. And to help break up the monotony of just listening to me just ramble on about cards all week, because you guys have been doing it on my channel and you guys have been sticking with it and commenting, so that's awesome. I've brought in some help. You may remember him from some projects I did a few years ago, but I decided to bring him back tonight, and he's been gracious enough of his time to come in. The one and only TML, and that does not stand for Toronto Maple Leafs fan. That stands for the mighty, whatever L would stand
Tyler.
Tyler.
It stands for Tyler Loughton.
Oh, okay.
The M is silent. We want to talk about the M. It is not, in fact, Toronto Maple Leafs. That is just blasphemy, good sir.
That's what I was trying to say, is that it's not Toronto Maple Leafs. So
No, it is a middle initial. It's like Scott T. Bourgeois. The C is silent.
We worked together a long time ago at a news outlet here back home in the city. That was it was good times. We had a good crew. So
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was, well, mostly the worst of times.
it was the blurst of times. The blurst of time. No, just kidding. It was the best of times. It was the blurst of time. No, just kidding. But anyway,
You stupid monkey.
exactly. But anyways, have to ask you right off the bat here. This was a week of premieres going across the line. How many of the premieres did you get a chance to watch this week?
Well, I'll tell you what, because it was the week of premieres, for the first time in a long time, I watched everything. I actually went out of my way to watch everything wrestling. I haven't done that in years.
Yeah, I know.
It's been years.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
So yeah, I went out.
Yep. Yeah, I'm exactly the same way. I just started watching stuff this week, starting with Raw, and I figured, well, if to watch Raw, I might as well do a recap, and then I did that, and then AEW was on Wednesday. I was like, well, that's important. I'm just going to do a recap for that, so I did that, and so on and whatever. So I've seen everything across the board, from Raw to AEW to NXT on the network to SmackDown on Fox, which you can all see the videos on the channel here. If you just go back through the history, it's all up on the front page. And tonight was kind of the capper of it all, as it is Hell in a Cell, the pay-per-view from Sacramento that was on WWE Network as well. So did you get a chance to watch the pre-show at all, or did you just kind of pop in off the top of the pay-per-view?
Yeah, I just kind of popped in on the top of the pay-per-view. What was the pre-show?
Okay, you didn't miss much. It was Lacey Evans versus Natalya for the 168th time over the past 3 weeks.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, and tomorrow night was announced during the card, we will get Lacey Evans versus Natalya for the 169th time for over the past 4 weeks. This time, though, with a stipulation, a last woman standing affair.
Why can't it be a loser leaves town match?
It's draft
Just so we can never have to see this again.
It's draft week. They could potentially do that and then just have this stipulation that, hey, whoever drafts the loser of that match can't go back to Raw. That's it, you know? That'd be interesting, for sure. I'd love that.
That would be welcomed.
It would be very welcomed. The match that they had tonight wasn't very memorable. You didn't miss much. Lacey again attempted to get Natalya into sharpshooter for the finish, but Natty reversed it, got a sharpshooter of her own, and got Lacey to tap out. Basically the same thing they've been doing on all the house shows and everything leading up to the pay-per-view. So
now I do have to ask. Yeah. I do have to ask. Did Lacey finally figure out how to put on a sharpshooter?
Tonight she did, yes.
Because she's been awful at that.
Yeah, tonight she did. Yeah, and just in the past few weeks, you're right, she's been terrible at it, just awful. But yeah, so tonight, hey, it worked out for her. Well, it didn't work out for her in the result. It worked out for her in a better, the run of everything, where the match was good. You know what? My mind is so warped from this, seeing these people go at it, and then they built up for tomorrow night by Natalya using the women's right, which is Lacey's finisher, on Lacey. And they're like, oh, okay, end of the feud, great. And then, no, it's not the end of the feud. And it's like, oh, heartbreak. We don't want to see this again. So,
Nobody wants to see this again. Like, stop. I thought the pay-per-view was supposed to be the blow-off.
yeah, no kidding, for sure. Absolutely. So, but anyways, that's the only thing that happened on the pre-show match-wise. There was no cruiserweight title match or anything like that. That's been set for NXT on Wednesday with Leo Rush and Drew Gulak. That should be pretty good. There was nothing on the Raw Tag Team title front with Rude or Ziggler. There was nothing on the SmackDown Tag Team title front with the who's got him? Dawson and Dash, the Revival. There was nothing on that front, so those belts need not apply.
Well, it's a pay-per-view.
These
well,
belts...
I'm saying it's a pay-per-view. That's why you don't see the Revival.
Oh, okay. These belts need not apply for this pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So there we go. And then immediately we jump right into the main card, and after an awesome opening and Pyro, that's a big thing. Pyro is back in WWE. We get the opening contest, which is for the Raw Women's Championship. Sasha Banks taking on Becky Lynch inside Hell in a Cell. What did you think?
That happened.
Yeah, it was a thing. It happened, exactly. What did you think of it?
It's again. I want to go like full Jim Cornette on this one.
Let fly.
It was. No. It's an all right match. Do you feel like Becky Lynch, this whole steam behind her, is really slowed down?
Mm-hmm. You know what? Definitely, for sure. I think that. It's definitely not the same steam that was behind her after Mania. I think that they've lost a lot of steam with her. It's like they hit the post-Mania April this year, and both the steam between Rollins and Lynch just died off and went off the edge of a cliff. It was really bad at Stomping Grounds this year. That pay-per-view they had in June or July, whatever it was. That was really bad. It was very dry. Very dry. And
do you feel like the crowd is really getting behind like the Crip Blue Sasha Banks they got going on?
Yes, exactly. That's a great way to describe her, the Crip Blue Sasha Banks. Yes. You know, Bloods and the Crips, right? So yeah, there we go.
Exactly. That's how it looked on TV to me, but that's just me.
I know my '90s hip hop. It's all good. You know what? Though exactly. I think they are. I think this crowd now, if they're a WWE centric crowd, for whatever reason, is really taking a liking to these heel characters that are coming out, and there's a lot of heel characters that are coming out. That they're trying to be a little bit more vibrant because of the competition and such from AEW and from a lesser extent New Japan now. But that's the it's one thing I think that WWE fans are doing in protest to what the creative is giving them right now. We were promised creative changes. They brought in Bischoff, they brought in Heyman, and we'll go through the card here, and it's more of the same tonight. And it's just, I don't get it. I really don't.
And I think that's the big thing, is that it is the same old, same old. I think people really wanted Sasha Banks to win this match, to become champion, to change things up a bit, but everybody had this feeling going into this event, she wasn't going to win. This was just a foregone conclusion. It's like, Becky's going to retain. This is not a premier or important pay-per-view. Why is this even going to... Why would they switch titles?
Yeah. Exactly.
And so you go into it, it's like, okay, Becky's going to win again. Next.
Yeah. Pretty much, exactly. It's almost like, again, a foregone conclusion. So, the match itself was amazing. I thought that this match was great from bell to bell. There were some really innovative spots. We had Sasha with the Meteora on the ladder onto Becky. We had Becky set Sasha up in that, I guess, the 50 Shades of Grey chair thing on the cage with the lights. That was...
Yeah.
That was sick.
That was something.
That was something.
Yeah,
that was. I mean, that's everything across the line was that presentation was amazing, and it was a really rough match. And Sasha's done 2 Hell in a Cell matches now, and both times she's been a standout performer in each match. Like, she's the person who's carried her opponent through those matches. Like, I felt she carried Becky tonight.
Well, I think that's the thing, is that she's actually carried the women's division the entire time that they've done this whole women's revolution thing.
Mm-hmm.
Every time that she gets in the ring and they put her up to the plate to do something big, she comes through.
Right.
Every single time. And I think the fans notice this and they really want to cheer her, but creative keeps putting her in a point where she's the heel. And I think people are like, we want to cheer Sasha Banks. She gives us everything.
Yeah.
And they don't do it.
Exactly. And I mean, this is coming from a Becky Lynch fan myself. I mean, I'm a big Becky Lynch fan. But tonight, Sasha was the better performer in that match, and I thought that, you know, she needed to be, because Becky was the babyface. Sasha was the cold-hearted heel going into this, and, you know, even though the crowd reacted towards Sasha better, you know, with a more favorable outcome than Becky, that was also a thing in that match, too. Again, I agree with you 100%. Like, the whole deal with the Chronicle stuff that they did with her and everything when she came back, if they were trying to push her as a heel, that killed it. And that made her one of the biggest baby faces in the company. Because you had people going on Twitter and that stuff and taking pot shots at Meltzer and at Sean Ross and everything like that for articles that they wrote back in March about Sasha Banks, right? So
yeah. No, you hit the nail on the head. Mm-hmm. People want to cheer for Sasha Banks. That Chronicle thing, absolutely you want to cheer for her. Mm-hmm. And they keep putting her in this heel position. They keep making her lose. What is the crowd to do?
Yeah, exactly. So, but Becky Lynch retains. Draft coming up. We'll see what happens with both Lynch. Well, Lynch has got the Raw Women's title. I don't think she's moving off of Raw anytime soon unless she loses it this week prior to the draft. Sasha Banks could go to SmackDown. Would she be somebody that the Fox execs want to take a look at? I think so.
She does have the right hair color for it.
Yeah. Hey, she's blue. So there we go. Dabba dee dabba da. She's blue.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The runtime on that match, too, a very deceptive 21:50. I thought it was a very watchable 15-minute affair when I watched it, but it going over 20 minutes is, you know, well done. Again, I thought it's up for match of the night for me. Like, it was a really good, well-wrestled, well-spotted out match. It was great. So.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, anytime the women can get anything over 5 minutes, bravo to them. And especially when they capture your interest for majority of the 20 minutes, perfect.
Oh, great stuff. So, absolutely. Then we had Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns taking on Eric Rowan and Luke Harper in a tornado tag team match. So this is when you pick all your wrestlers in WWE 2K20 and just go tornado tag, where there's no tags and you just got 4 guys fighting in the ring. But 2 are on teams and 2 are on the other teams, because good and evil.
Also known as a Nintendo 64 match that you play with your friends all the time.
Right, the No Mercy match, exactly. The No Mercy or the WrestleMania 2000.
That's exactly what that was.
Now, were you a No Mercy guy?
No one wanted to...
Were you a No Mercy
guy?
Oh,
I was definitely a No Mercy guy. I played that game front to back. I still have the cartridge. It's in my living room somewhere.
Nice. See, I was a WrestleMania 2000 guy until I picked up a copy of No Mercy several years after the fact, after it came out, but I got it at like one of those Blockbuster clear out sales things and that stuff, and it was... I became a No Mercy fan that day. I was like, there is nothing better than this game. This game is the be-all, end-all, you know. And
it still is. It's the standard for all wrestling video games to this day.
All hail the altar of THQ. Yeah, exactly.
There'll never be another.
So this match itself, I thought, was it'd be a great main event for TV, like, you know, for either Raw or SmackDown during the week. I thought that was the pace that was kind of presented. I love the wildness of the Bludgeons basically taking Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns, just tossing them around all around the outside and that stuff, and, you know, breaking as much stuff on the outside and you name it. It was a real wild, out of control match that I thought really suited it. And I thought that the match after the women's Hell in a Cell match would have a tough time trying to top it. But this one, I don't want to say they equaled it, but they came pretty darn close it a couple of times. It was, again, another well-wrestled, well-spotted out match.
I guess you could say that would be a good thing, that this is something that you would see at the end of a SmackDown or a Raw, and you saw it second on a pay-per-view, not a bad idea. You know, pretty entertaining. You know what's the one thing that absolutely stuck out to me? Is almost how squandered Daniel Bryan is. Because when he had to retire, it was such a big moment. When he was a GM, it was a big moment. When he came back, it was a huge moment. And now you just see him tucked away in this like tag team match, and the crowd's not with him anymore, and he's kind of in limbo, and like, Daniel Bryan's wrestling again. Yeah. And nobody cares anymore. It's like, what happened here?
I know the fever and all the news stories around WrestleMania 34 when he came back was just amazing. And the New Orleans WrestleMania, the second one that they did, and he was coming back to like the building where he won the title, and it was just an amazing story. And then he beats Kevin and Sammy, and it's like, that's awesome. And then we're like, awesome, you can get into that really great program with the Miz that they've been pitching for like 2 or 3 years now and that stuff. And then they finally get into it, and it was lackluster. And then Daniel Bryan comes back out of that, turns heel, actually does a really interesting heel job, and is probably one of the top 5 heels of the decade with the whole eco-friendly Daniel Bryan gimmick. A very big merchandise mover with that hemp belt that he had. They were moving a lot of those WrestleMania weekend.
Did that really sell a lot of belts?
Yeah, they did.
Sorry.
I walked into WWE Access fan Superstore a couple of times, and they had the sold out on that belt rack for a long time on that until they could get it go back to Connecticut and get another box of them, right? So, but he was a hot merchandise seller and that stuff, and then he lost the belt to Kofi, and Kofi did his thing, and then whatever, but since then, just Daniel Bryan just kind of languishing on the SmackDown mid-card. And again, tonight, I don't know if this is a catalyst of, okay, we're going to bring back honorable, face Daniel Bryan, or if this was just a one-time only affair or something like that. But, squandered is the word. I would agree.
Well, they got to do something with him, because he is money when they use him properly.
Oh,
and they've just got him. You pretty much pointed out the timeline perfectly. Is that since WrestleMania? That's what, March, April?
It was April.
What has he done since?
Nothing.
Right. So he's done nothing since. How do you have that kind of talent who's ready, willing to wrestle again, and he's just sitting there? It's mind blowing.
Yeah. Absolutely mind blowing. Just
also, I was going to ask you something. Roman Reigns? Is he's still getting pretty much 50-50 from the crowd, isn't he, or less?
It's gone back to it. Like it was, like WrestleMania weekend and that stuff and everything. He was cheered wherever he would go, just because that's a smart crowd, and everybody was happy to have him back. But yeah, it's gone back now to like the 50-50. But I think that's more out of comfort level than anything else, not because of anything that he's done. I think it's just, okay, it's Roman Reigns, so booyah, he's the new Cena. So
I don't know what they can do about this. Like, can they change the theme song? Can they do that at least? Because like when you just hear that,
you think Shield,
like you just want to vomit.
Yeah, you think Shield.
Well, I don't think Shield. I think, oh God, here comes Roman.
I'm not sure if they'll ever.
I wish I thought Shield.
Like he definitely needs a gimmick and attire change. I think just if he'd be the guy to go out there in jeans and a t-shirt and wrestle, maybe that would be it.
It's not much different than what he does now, because quite honestly, if you were to tell somebody who doesn't know wrestling, hey, this guy Roman Reigns is what? He has no personality. What is his character? What?
Well, I was trying to tell non-wrestling people, at work and everywhere about Roman Reigns when he was coming to town here to get honored by the Eskimos, his former football team here.
That's right. Okay, that's right.
How do you explain Roman Reigns? The big dog. Okay, so he's dressed like a mad dog or something like that? Nah, not really. I mean, he's got a dog on his entrance video, but other than that, that's it, He wears like a SWAT team vest. Oh, so he's like a SWAT cop. He kind of used to be, and so it was.
Yeah,
it's confusing. I don't think I helped. So.
I don't think it can be helped. That's the thing. It's like, how do you describe what Roman Reigns is to somebody who doesn't watch the show? You can't, because there's nothing to that personality, to that character.
That's a great point.
It's basically he's big Samoan guy with a vest, and he punches people, and he's going to tell you he's going to punch you before he punches you. because he's nice. I don't know. Like, what do you do with that?
Yeah. Well, I think it's, you look at these guys in this match, and they all kind of have their set directions now at this point. Rowan and Harper are going to, continue as a tag team, probably get back to SmackDown tag belts, and, go on a reign of terror like that because they're a big heel, angry tag team, right? Then you look at, Daniel Bryan, if they're going to go back with the Yes Movement thing. That's, a thing, so whatever. But yeah, Roman Reigns, what do you do? Like, it's the cool Samoan thing. Do you get him back to, maybe like board shorts and like a Hawaii pearl necklace thing or whatever? I don't know. Send him out there or what?
He's one step away from just having to do a luau. Like, I don't know.
He could do like a haka or something like that and go out.
No, the Usos prove you can't do that.
Yeah, the haka doesn't work in pro wrestling. So
no.
Anyways, so 16:45 for that match according to Wikipedia. So we'll go with that time for run there. Like I said, decent follow up to the first match, and very watchable. It's just that. WWE Creative leaves us more questions than answers off of this, and that's not necessarily a good thing. That's a bad thing, to quote DDP. So,
oh man, the WWE DDP quote. Oh my. Can we talk about the fact that Daniel Bryan wanted to hug Roman Reigns at the end of that match?
Yeah, they hugged it out. That was great. I loved it. I thought that this was going to be the stab in the back. I thought, I've even put on Twitter, I smell a 3-on-1 coming. Like, this is, just the way it was going. But, no, they hugged it out. It was great.
They hugged it out, and that's what everyone wanted to see, and everyone got their yeses up, and, fun for the fans.
The return of Yesomania. So, you texted to me, what do we call this team? Is it Yes Dog, or is it Big Yes? Or
Big Yes.
Big Yes? I like Yes Dog.
They're both ridiculous names.
Get some Dr. Shelby quotes happening on SmackDown, or some Dr. Shelby vignettes with both of them or something, and maybe that's what maybe Roman's.
So it was Kane. Big Yes or Yes Dog.
Big Yes.
Or maybe they get like a combined theme song and be like, well, it's the Big Yes. No.
All right, moving on. Randy Orton defeated Ali in a singles match, 12 minutes and 10 seconds. Really? 12 minutes and 10 seconds? That seems longer. That felt painfully long.
That was the longest 12 minutes I've had in a long time.
No comment.
My goodness.
Hi-yo, anyway. That's what she said. No, just kidding. No, but anyway, it was painful. It's like getting your teeth pulled for 12 minutes. That wasn't fun at all. That was, the desired result out of that one would have been Ali getting the win, and then tomorrow night on Raw, Hulk Hogan walking out and saying, hey, I like that Ali kid. I think that he'd be a great addition for my team for Crown Jewel. And he beat one of the members of the other team, Ric Flair's team. So guess what? You're on my team with Rollins and Rusev. That would be, the desired, I would think, decision if you're trying to build that matchup for something. But, I don't know.
Well, technically they can still do it and be like, you gave him a lot of heart, brother, and I want you, whatever.
It's not the same, though. It's not the same. It doesn't feel right. It's like, well, okay, so you're taking the loser out of that match. That's great. Not that I care about Hogan, but I just say.
Okay, true.
Yeah, but that's
true.
Yeah. The
what was strikingly obvious in this match was the size difference.
Yeah.
This kind of felt like Randy Orton was going up against one of the Bollywood boys. Like, it was just too strange.
One of the Sierra Gerver Harv. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it's. And we had talked about it, but Ali is one of those guys that is one of the 205 Live jumpstart guys from the past year or so because of everything that he's done on 205 Live. Him and Cedric Alexander are the two cut aboves from that roster that got some main roster time, and that's of the two young guns that they've brought up so far out of 205 Live. There might be talk, later on down the line that you could have Gulak maybe go to NXT or NXT UK as a, kind of like a traveling, like Cassius Ono type, and that might be deferred. But right now it's just these two. And yeah, that's just how the cookie crumbles out of that right now is just that they don't know where to put Ali on the SmackDown roster. There's talk about him going to Raw and maybe getting involved in a Universal title scene there, which would be a lot of fun. The problem is him and Rollins look so similar. It'd be like Rollins wrestling himself, only 5 years younger in the ring, I guess. I don't know. So.
Now, granted, I will give it to Ali. He's a great worker.
Yes.
He looks great in the ring. He does some good stuff. He looks so small, and I don't know what his character is. He looks like the Green Power Ranger with some like Iron Man blasters in his hand and chest.
Well, we were saying that he looks like DLC from the latest Mortal Kombat game. Like Ed Boon created an extra skin, a skin for Reptile or something like that, or Sub-Zero or something.
Yeah, except this guy would not have a fatality.
No,
he's just too small.
He's got no fatality. He's got no finish.
No. Now the way he got out of the RKO, that was something.
Yeah, the counter out of the RKO was pretty cool. That was pretty neat. That was like he did like a handstand and kind of flipped out of it. It was really, really neat. So he kind of proved that he can get himself out of it. But then the second time, Randy got him, and then 1-2-3, that was the finish. But hey, it's 12 minutes. It seemed longer than 12 minutes. It was painfully long.
Absolutely. That was. You know what? The thing is, I like Randy Orton. I like his presentation. I like his style. He has a way of slowing matches down to a crawl.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but he just seems like such a slow worker, no matter who it is. You get always excited to see him. You got the music, and he's throwing up the arms, and it's RKO, and then the match actually happens, and you're like, this seems long.
Yes.
And I don't know what it is about Randy Orton.
Yeah, that's always been a way with him for his career and that stuff and everything, so that's it. Next match, we had the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane, taking on Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, the women's tag team champions, for the women's tag team championship, and we had a title change. Kabuki walked out with the belt because Asuka did something very Kabuki with the mist.
Can I please just point out that is the least menacing name you could name a tag team? Kabuki. The Kabuki Warriors?
Well, there was a big heel in the early 80s named the Great Kabuki. He was pretty scary, but,
And who? What? Who remembers the Kabuki?
Thing. It was Dallas. It was the Von Erichs. It was Gary Hart. It was Territory League, so there you go. So
it was 30 years ago, and no one...
So the Great Kabuki was the first Japanese wrestler to really use the mists to finish off opponents and that stuff in a heel fashion. So he used the mist there. And then when Muta came over from New Japan in the late 80s and became the Great Muta, he started using the mist because the gimmick for him in WCW was he was the son of the Great Kabuki. So there you go.
Right.
A little wrestling history lesson for you there. And
now a little wrestling thing for me is when I was watching wrestling, the one using the mist was Tajiri, who was in the WWE, so that's what I associated it to.
Who got that from Muta because Muta was one of his trainers.
Correct.
There we go. So that was an homage.
Which you then found out. The mist actually have different meanings.
That's right. Yeah, there's 3 different types of mist. This is something I didn't know until prior to this year, so it's really weird that this happened in this match. So Asuka on the indie scene, just to come full circle with the story, Asuka on the indie scene when she was known as Kana, did a zombie Kana gimmick for much of 2014 and 2015. To get some extra bookings and that stuff. It was a real wild, over-the-top zombie type thing. Walking Dead was big at the time, so that's what she was basing it on. She would use red mist in matches all the time, and red mist is supposed to, storyline-wise, disorientate the opponent enough to roll them up for a free count or to hit your finisher or whatever. Green mist, which is the mist that she used tonight, is blindness. It's poison mist. So it's supposed to like get in your eyes and cause blindness. There's a third color. It's called yellow mist. Yellow mist is akin to acid. It will eat your face in the kayfabe world. Like, wrestlers in the 80s would take yellow mist and they would immediately start blading on their foreheads and that stuff to make it look like the stuff is eating away at their skin. It's a very Memphis
Is
thing.
that why the Ultimate Warrior was vomiting yellow when Papa Shango did that thing to him?
Could be. It's been a year since I watched that angle, but I'll get back to you on that. Could be.
That stuck with my brother to this day that he still like mimics the vomit sound because it was so ridiculous. Like, it's the stupidest.
It could have been, yeah. That could have been the mentality behind it, or it could have been probably what Bruce Pritchard has said, which there's no mentality behind it. It's like, well, let's just make it look like he's throwing up. Okay, that's what they were doing. So that's the thing, I guess. But yeah, so there are in the wrestling vernacular 3 recognized colors of mist: red, green, and yellow. So that's what it is. And when you see a Japanese wrestler or a wrestler of Asian descent bust out the yellow mist, you know that they're trying to get a real money angle out of it, because that's endgame. That is, we're taking the babyface out of the territory for a month type, storyline telling and that stuff. But so the green mist was used tonight. Asuka nailed Nikki Cross with the green mist, got the 1-2-3, and lo and behold, we got new women's tag team champions here. The Starbucks Express don't have it anymore. It's the Kabuki Warriors.
The Starbucks Express? Please tell me that wasn't really their name.
No, that's the name I came up with for them, because I was tired of calling them Bliss and Cross all the time. So I just called them the Starbucks Express.
Okay, that's kind of clever.
Yeah.
I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
Does it bother you that Alexa Bliss doesn't bump?
I didn't notice that until you told me about it tonight, and then I watched the rest of the match after you told me about it, and then she's still recovering from that concussion scare and that stuff and everything. Like, she had Sidney Crosby level concussion problems here.
That's not nice.
So I'm trying to akin it to something that you would know and the listeners would know, but there you go. But
okay, you're right. She is no Sidney Crosby. No.
Wow.
No.
Okay.
I'm just saying, man. She never bumps.
Yeah.
Even when she was healthy, she didn't bump.
You're right. They were selling the knee quite a bit at the house show here. In the match with Dana Brooke and Tamina Snuka when they took on Cross and Bliss. And that was just because Sasha had jumped Alexa during the match that week on Raw and ripped up her knee, kayfabe in storyline, right? So, but yeah, Nikki did a lot of the bumping in that match too and everything like that. So I think they're sensitive right now to her injury needs and what they need to do with her and that stuff. But yeah, it's noticeable right now in the ring. Like, I think Alexa's the type that wants to give it 110% in the ring, and she said that in the Chronicle special on the network. She wants to give 110%. The problem is that she can't fully go uncorked in the ring because she's still got the head issue. So
why is she cleared to wrestle?
I think she's cleared to wrestle then under this limited bumping plan. Then probably I think she's like, okay, no more than 5 a night or something, and then. But she's in matches, either she goes over or Nikki has to take the pinfall, one of the two.
The Sheamus rules.
Yes, very, very much so.
One thing I also noticed in this match, Asuka and Kairi Sane.
Yep.
The crowd really liked them.
Yes.
And they were not very warm. They were kind of lukewarm towards Bliss and Cross.
Yeah. It was a very heel-friendly crowd tonight.
The thing is, it's like I don't exactly blame them, because Asuka's a great wrestler, Kairi Sane's a great wrestler, Nikki Cross is insane. She does her whole Ultimate Warrior rope shaking thing, but her and Bliss, what is their connection? Like, why are they a tag team?
But they're best friends.
In what universe.
In the WWE universe, they're best
I
friends.
knew you were going to say that. Why did I do that?
In the WWE vernacular, they're best friends. That's what they are. So it's they're friends.
They have nothing
they're
in
friends
common.
bounded by the love of each other and coffee, and they love coffee. Therefore, they must wrestle.
Well, Nikki Cross really likes coffee based on the way she acts.
I mean, Christ, Shimmer did, I don't know, 78, 79 volumes worth of storyline. That's worse than that. So
That's saying a lot.
and people found it entertaining. I found it entertaining. So there we go. A lot of the storyline Shimmer has done in the past has been really entertaining. There's a lot of storylines, too, that have been drawn up, and Dave Prazak, who runs Shimmer, will admit to this, that were drawn up over 5 bottles of scotch at the bar after a show. And then just follow it to a T.
Well, that's always the best way to write something.
Hey, there we go. I mean, Stephen King is a multi-million-dollar offer, and how many books did he write lit? Like, probably quite a bit, so...
Again, there is no one in wrestling who is a Stephen King.
Yeah, no.
No.
Not right now.
No. What do you mean not right now? Has there ever been a great writer that came out of wrestling?
No. To come to think of it, I don't think so, no. They've had great writer. They've had what they considered were great writers walking into wrestling, but then the wrestling angles that they wrote haven't been great. And then, out. Ed Ferrara being one, because he was actually a decent writer. He did Duckman. He did a whole bunch of stuff on USA back in the day and that stuff. And then he gets thrown into WWE and then is basically Russo's lackey until they leave, right? So
I can see that happening, though, because Russo is supposed to be some kind of TV writer, and Ferrara being a TV writer would probably have like minds, but then they have to be in wrestling, and it would just clash. I can see that happening.
Now, Ed, if you talk to him, will say that he had absolutely no issue playing second fiddle because this was a whole brand new thing for him, and he's trying to pick up as he was going along and that stuff at that time anyway. So he really didn't mind and that stuff and everything. It was just kind of towards their split in WCW in 2000 that happened. But anyway, regardless, whole different tangent, right?
Oh yeah, let's go back to the Oscar match.
There we go. Well, hey, the only thing I want to add to that Oscar match is the time was 10:25. Kyrie was doing a lot of real comedic bumps. I really liked the march over to the corner where she went and she raked Alexis's eyes. That was pretty funny.
No, that was Nikki. She did the old Piper.
Yeah, it was Nikki. You're right. So where she walked.
Yeah, she did the old Piper poke to the eyes.
Yeah, the poink like that. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
which the crowd popped for.
Yeah. Yeah, Kairi Sane is really comedic in the ring, and I really like that with her. I find that really entertaining. I find her one of the more entertaining acts in WWE right now. And that elbow is just a thing of beauty.
Yeah, man, that elbow, that height that she gets on there and the snap to the elbow, except she took 2 knees to the spine in doing that tonight, and that looked real bad, but wow.
There's one girl on the roster that can rival her for height off the top rope now. And it's just because she's been, busting her, off training. Dana Brooke. She does a senton bomb, or a swanton bomb, I should say, that will blow your mind if you see it.
My mind's actually blown that she's still in the company.
She gets hang time on that.
My mind is just blown that she's still in WWE because I haven't seen her in anything memorable since I can't even recall.
She was
when she was Charlotte's lackey.
She was on the house show tour when it rolled through here. Like we saw her at WWE Edmonton. She was tagging with Tamina of all people.
Okay, 2 people I did not know are still with WWE.
Well, Tamina tonight was a 24/7 champion for a while, and then she won it from Carmella, and then she lost it by using Funaki as a hostage, and then
I was so confused by that.
Yeah, I mean we could talk about that now. That just happened prior to the SmackDown Women's title match, but yeah, that's a thing that happened. It's a 24/7 belt. R-Truth walked out of the building, the 24/7 champion. I think they said he's already a 20-time 24/7 champion. They're probably on the road to give him 100 title reigns with the thing because he loses it every time he has it on TV. And the 24/7 belt is a comedic farce. It's a parody of a belt. It is the Weird Al Yankovic of wrestling belts. It is making fun of belts and titles and such, and should not be taken seriously at all.
And I don't think it is, but I think the crowd, I think they like it.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun addition. It's not like serious like the hardcore belt was. The hardcore belt, yeah, there was some fun to it, but it was a serious wrestling belt. Like, you wanted to hold the hardcore championship, right?
Yeah, there is zero prestige to the 24/7 championship.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
That being said, there was a little bit of a promo there when Truth got it back, or did he lose it? There's some kind of promo in the back where the Street Profits were there. I don't think anyone gets them.
The Street Profits? They're kind of like
like they were
kind of like the comedic narrators of Raw now at this point, but
they wrestle on NXT, do they not?
they do. They were on
And they're
NXT,
pretty.
They were on NXT this past week, taking on O'Reilly and Fish for the NXT belts. So
Right, and everyone in the audience had solo red cups, and they were cheering for them and stuff. Like they had a lot of.
Wale played them to the ring. Like they had Wale.
That's right. They had Wale come out with them.
Yep.
So I mean, they seem to be really popular where they are, but then you put them on this pay-per-view stage, and I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't understand it either. It's something that they're trying, and believe me, in this being a wrestling war, they're trying everything. So, and who knows if it works or not, but we'll see.
They're gonna have to try something else because no one was understanding what those guys were even doing.
Yeah, exactly. I hear you. So, all right, next match on the card. This was a 6-man tag. The OC, so Styles, Gallows, and Anderson, took on the Viking Raiders and a mystery partner. But the mystery partner ended up being Braun Strowman. So we had the Viking Braun experience, or the Viking Stro show, as I put on Twitter, take on the OC. And this was a 6-man tag match. Again, just hyping the fact that Tyson Fury is going to be on Raw tomorrow night, and they're just trying to push that main event or not main event, but I guess one of the more higher profile matches for what's rumored to be Crown Jewel. If it is, that's kind of a waste, but, because it's a Saudi card, but hey, whatever, so.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? This match to me was a very average. There was nothing incredible about it. There was nothing I popped for. It was just there. It seemed, I don't know, it's a double-edged sword. It is a waste of AJ Styles, but at the same time, he did make it to the show. There's a lot of
yeah,
what's that?
It's Braun Strowman hype. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised that tomorrow night on Raw we see a Braun Strowman versus AJ Styles match for the U.S. title, and Strowman just takes it off of Styles at this point. It's like, there you go.
That would be typical WWE booking, and that's the kind of stuff that I just change the channel for.
Yeah.
Because it's so predictable.
Yeah. So, I hate to say it, but that seems to be the direction that it's going. So, but all right, we are down to the final 3 matches of the card. This one actually had a lot of build to it. It was Chad Gable versus King Corbin. This, of course, the rematch of the King of the Ring finals from this year, and Gable finally gets one on Corbin and rolls him up for a pinfall in 12:40. Good for Gable. They actually called him, I think by mistake, Shorty Gable in the post-match announcement. And then when confronted backstage before he got jumped again by King Corbin in the back after his winner's interview and that stuff, Caleb Braxton came up and accidentally called him Shorty again. So I think that might be a name that they're going to just start calling him as Shorty Gable, Chad Shorty Gable now.
You know what? I like Gable. I liked him back on NXT when he was paired up with Jordan. With what happened to that guy?
American Alpha.
Yeah. That was a great tag team. That was an amazing tag team. Mm-hmm. And now it's kind of like you're reintroducing this character from scratch all over again. He's got no personality. He's got no character to him. He's just a guy who can wrestle really well. They're trying to build something off of that. I see a lot of potential there.
Yeah.
And good for him for getting the win, and good for Baron Corbin for not looking like a bartender.
Yeah, he looks like he's actually an actual wrestler now instead of, the regional manager for Applebee's. It's great.
Well said.
The hey, I can't add anything more other than whatever brand Gable ends up on. Hopefully they use him because he deserves a push of some sort. I'd love to see him back down in NXT and maybe challenging for the North American belt. Him and Velveteen Dream could have an awesome match. It'd be amazing.
Oh yeah, that would be a great match right there.
Yeah.
I think Gable just, as soon as he finds his personality and his voice,
Yeah.
he could be something. But if he never finds it, we're gonna basically see another Shelton Benjamin.
Yeah, exactly. For sure. And whatever happened to Shelton? The last time we seen him, he was doing weird faces in the back, and then he took off.
Is he still with the company or no?
I think he still is, yes. I haven't seen anything saying that he's left or anything, but...
Poor guy. So much talent there, and just they have no idea what to do with him.
Jason Jordan, by the way, I think had to retire from in-ring competition because he had some issues with his neck. I believe that's what it was. And it was one of those deals where, like, if he takes another bump, he could be, paralyzed or something like that, or something kind of wild. Kind of similar to, like, a Tyson Kidd type thing, so...
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. Which is really sad.
At the same time, I'm kind of happy they got him out of that storyline, but yeah, I wish they got him out a different way.
Next match, Charlotte Flair. just cold move on. That's all we're doing. But anyway, next match, Charlotte Flair taking on Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship, and it is a 10-time championship reign for Charlotte Flair, as she once again is the SmackDown Women's Champion, and heel Bayley seems to be here to stay. However, it's not going to be the awesome heel that we've all pictured. It's whiny crybaby Bayley.
So this match, actually, for me, it completely symbolizes what WWE doesn't understand. They don't understand their audience. They want to cheer Bayley. They want to boo Charlotte. Charlotte comes off as such a snarky, arrogant wrestler that you just don't want to see her succeed. She's got it all and she thinks she's it. And you don't want to cheer for that. And Bayley, you have all the sympathy for her at the end of the match. And she looks like she's about to burst into tears. She lost everything. She's hurt. She looks like she's lost. All the sympathy is like, that would be beautiful if she was a face. It's like, why is the writing switching these two things around? It doesn't make any sense. People want to cheer Bayley and they want to boo Charlotte, and they give them the exact opposite.
Yeah. Well, I think there might be a Fox exec there saying, we want Charlotte as our women's champion, and we want her because she's a Flair as a face. I think that's probably what it is. I think that might be a Fox decision more than anything else.
It's not a good one.
No, it isn't. But Fox is a company that has questionable decisions right across the board. Trust me, with a lot of their sports properties. So,
sports and everything.
Yep, sports, television, news.
Oh, we don't have to start news.
That's a flawed company, Tyler. It's a flawed company.
But man, do they make a million or two. You know what's one thing I've noticed about Charlotte Flair? She can't sell. What is wrong with her? Does she not know what pain feels like?
Yeah. You need to get her in a death match and see what happens. There was jokes running around that stuff when she was in that first Hell in a Cell match with Sasha Banks a couple of years ago. That, she's going to do a moonsault through some light tubes and maybe a barbed wire plank or something like that. I was like, I don't know, looking like that.
I don't know, man, but it's like, why can't she sell?
I don't know. I really don't. I think that that's something that she definitely needs work on, but I totally see what you mean there, Nessa. Now, Bayley, total package, it's going to be very interesting to see her as a heel, what she can do. The problem is that as a heel, I don't think she's got the killer instinct as a heel, so.
No, she really doesn't, and that really shows that she doesn't have that killer instinct as a heel whatsoever. Yeah. And again, the universe wants to cheer her on because they have sympathy for her. They don't want to boo her.
Yep. They totally don't. They definitely don't. So
I say pull the plug on this whole heel thing, maybe turn on Sasha Banks or have a confrontation or something, but get her back into being a face again.
Mm-hmm. I agree for sure. So, all right. bitch session time here on NITRO'S Take, because it's main event time. The Hell in a Cell match for the Universal Championship, Seth Rollins versus Bray Wyatt, ended in a no contest officially. They're not saying disqualification, they're saying no contest.
Really?
After one of the most over-the-top, theatric, weird, wild, strange main events we've seen in a long, long time. The official word is ended in a no contest for that.
Okay, I was wondering what happened there. Can you go on and just explain just again, explain that match? I still need time to digest that one.
Okay, for sure. Because I got a lot to say about this match, and I am as red in the face right now as the ring lights were around the building. That's my first gripe about this, is who the hell okayed to let's do a complete Universal title match with red lights around the whole gosh darn building, showing right onto the ring. This is your main event. Your first match was, shown as a legit athletic contest inside the cell. Why turn the building red?
Yeah, like who was the agent on this match? Was this Sin Cara? Where they had to put a different lighting over the entire match?
Does Sin Cara work as an agent for WWE? I guess that might be something that we have to find out here. That's wow. Did we blow the lid off?
Does he still have a job?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My question, geez.
No, but that red light thing, what was that?
It also didn't work with the cage either, because the cage in the first match was so distracting because it was painted red, and of course it showed up on the camera as this giant red cage. So we're back at TNA Impact in 2009. Now all of a sudden we got the cage coming down. It's all red because Midway, I guess, or TNA in red and blah. But and they go ahead and start the match, with the red lights around the arena, with it all red. And I thought that was a weird effect that they were giving off for the main event while they did the announcements. They had maybe the ring announcer in the ring or something, and they were doing the NXT style ring announcements where challenger, champion, whatever, right? And they do that
spotlight show.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, when they dim the lights down, they just go one spotlight in the ring and that stuff, and they go champion, challenger, get the crowd reactions, and
right.
they ring the bell, and then the house lights come back up, right? So
Exactly.
I thought that's what they were doing there. They didn't. They ended up with the entire match in frickin' red hue the entire time.
No, they went full Kane on this one.
Yes. There's no, more than full Kane. This is I don't know, the universe of Kane, I guess. Everything is Kane.
It was very Kane-esque.
Yes. And that's my first big gripe with it. And the second big gripe was about, it's a fairly obvious story that they're trying to tell in the ring. It's hard to see because of the red hue or whatever, but every move that Rollins hits on the Fiend basically no sells. So it's like The Undertaker back in the early days or whatever, except this guy no sells everything that's coming across the board at him and everything. And so eventually Rollins gets him down with a stomp, and the former curb stomp, now to just call into stomp. They get him down
right.
in the ring. He starts just selling and convulsing, so Rollins then hits another stomp, and he sells a little bit more. Third stomp sells a little bit more. Then he starts to slowly eke his way back up, and so then in comes a chair, and he uses a chair, unprotected, by the way, total full on, just no chill, right to the head of the Fiend. So, and I put on Twitter, I guess unprotected headshots are okay against the undead. Is that, kind of the understanding?
Yeah, that was a very unprotected chair shot. That being said, I think they did it in a way where it didn't make any contact. So,
yeah.
well played.
Yeah, but the illusion's there. So,
It made for a great illusion, I'll give it that.
It did. Still, the Fiend kind of moving his hands a little bit and that stuff, and so Rollins again unprotected. And then I lost track because of the lunacy of this. how many chairs and ladders and stuff and everything did he end up hitting the Fiend with at the end? It was like a complete wreck of stuff. I guess like it was all just.
Yeah, I think let's check the order. We'll take 3 steel chairs, 1 ladder, about 3 kendo sticks, some sheet metal, maybe the stairs, a toolbox, and a Triple H hammer.
Yeah. Well, this was after, though, in this match, which I thought was a really funny spot. The Fiend brought out his giant mallet, the cartoon mallet that he used to crush Rambling Rabbit in the skits with and that stuff. He was attempting to...
Oh, that's what that was. I'm like, why did he just break out like a Mario World hammer? What the hell is that?
That's what it was. It was from the Firefly Funhouse. And I expected him, though, to hit him over the back and just hear a giant squeaky when he hit it, and then just nothing happened, right? But, you know, that would have been...
If he had hit Seth Rollins with that, they might as well have had the Looney Tunes ending with, you know, the mountain. But that's all, folks, because that's ridiculous.
Oh, it was ridiculous to begin with, and then it got more ridiculous. After all of this happened, they decided, or Rollins decided, or whoever drew this up creatively, whatever, decided that's not enough. We're going to throw a loaded toolbox on top of the Fiend, and then Rollins will try to, you know, bash him with a chair or something like that, right? So all this is over top of the Fiend's head, and then bam, like Natural Born Killer style, he just whacks him, right? And then that was enough for the ref to call for the bell. It's a Hell in a Cell. There's no disqualification. What the frick are we doing here, guys?
Yeah, I mean, that's right. The ref was pleading with Seth Rollins, don't do it, this isn't you, you're gonna kill him. It's like, it's a Hell in a Cell. I can do whatever I want.
It's a no disqualification cage match.
It's like, I'm pretty sure your jabroni friend is the one that put up the ring. He knows what he put under there.
Exactly. You know? Like, what the hell is going on here with this? And then, you know, the medical staff comes out. They get all the stuff off of him and everything. And Steph's standing in the corner shocked because he did this and whatever. And they load him onto a gurney or whatever. And they're just about to take him up. And Steph's kind of leaning over the Fiend, kind of looking and saying like, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, whatever. And then all of a sudden, Mandible Claw out of nowhere. And the Fiend commences to a pounding on Seth, which included, you know, the lights going all stroby and Sister Abigail being applied on the outside of the ring. So we know that this isn't the last time that they will face in the ring. This is kind of a lead-up match to something else later on down the line. But, you know, the use of blood packets there, too, with Seth looked like, you know, heavy bleeding coming out of his mouth or something like that. And so they'll be playing that storyline that maybe something got ripped out of his trachea or something or whatever. And the pay-per-view goes to black. And there's about 14,000 people in the building chanting bullshit and AEW. 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 AEW.
Yes, they were. They were not happy.
Mm-hmm. Well, what we feared was going to happen, happened. WWE had amazing creative going in for The Fiend, going into this Universal title match. And in one foul swoop, they made the character look corny and cartoony and second rate, which means The Fiend is probably staying on Raw.
I'm going to kind of disagree with you on that one.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to disagree with you a little bit on that one.
Sure.
Just because they made him look like a complete monster, like more than we've ever seen out of like old school Kane.
Right.
So like in the details of what happened, Seth Rollins hits him with the stomp. He goes for the pin because that's usually it, and he kicked out at 1. Mm-hmm. And then he does a 4-corner stomp. He goes into one turnbuckle, stomp. Next turnbuckle, stomp. Next one, stomp. Next one, stomp. Pins him again, 1.5. And now Seth Rollins is completely freaking out, like this isn't right. This that's finishes right, yeah. Everybody. He puts him in a pedigree, and Bray Wyatt does the Ultimate Warrior thing.
Yeah.
And just comes right back to his feet from the pedigree. Yeah. No cells on the pedigree.
By the way, that's one of my favorite no cells of all time is when Triple H nails Warrior with the pedigree at WrestleMania 12. Warrior beats Triple H back up to his feet. Like, it's so
Yes,
quick.
he does.
It is so quick if you watch the video. It is so quick if you watch the video that it looks like Warrior is going to headbutt Triple H's sack on the way back up. Like, I'm afraid that he's just going to blow him inadvertently on the way back
And that's
up.
more or less what happened with Bray Wyatt to Seth Rollins when he hit him with the pedigree.
Yeah.
He basically gets to the no sell, and like he made him a complete monster.
Yeah.
And then Seth Rollins loses his mind and uses a bunch of weapons, and then for some reason the referee has to plead to him, don't hit him with the Triple H hammer. And then he does it, and they call off the match as a no contest, not a DQ, not a knockout victory or something.
Right.
A no contest. But the thing is that they made the Fiend look like a lunatic.
Yes. And they did a great job on the house shows too of building him up as something, that Rollins can't beat, because that's basically the same thing that they did here, sans all the weaponry and everything like that. But every maneuver in a traditional match that Rollins would throw at the Fiend, it didn't work. That the Fiend would get right back up and just get him, right? And that's it. And they eventually here in Edmonton had to throw the match out, and so I would assume that was the same deal across the line in Calgary and then in Minnesota when they did that tour and stuff like that, right? But I mean, like that's this did so much damage to that character tonight that it's unreal. Like, the fans aren't going to be able to look at this at the right way. Like, I tweeted on Twitter to the guys at WrestleCrap saying, hey, in 5 years we'll be reading about this on WrestleCrap. And then R.D. Reynolds tweeted me back and said, oh, it'll be less than that. So, watch for it next week, I guess. It's going to be out there. Man.
Yeah. But you know what though? Again, I'm gonna say for the character it wasn't too bad. For the company, it was horrible.
Yes.
Because you now have a rival company that seems to want to give people what they want,
yeah,
and you're giving people the exact opposite and charging them money for it.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see the difference in prices between what people were paying to get into AEW on Wednesday in Washington, D.C. versus what they were paying tonight in Sacramento to get into WWE pay-per-view.
That'd be some very interesting numbers for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But my whole thing is that this was more hurtful, I think, to the company, to the fans, than it was to Bray Wyatt. Because I think the character is still there, and he still comes across as basically an unbeatable monster. And that last image of him giving the mandible claw to Seth Rollins and him coughing up blood and it just spewing everywhere, are they still PG?
I think the talk is that they want that the Fox is okay with them moving towards a TV 14A type rating almost, like out of the PG era and going back to 14 a little bit, because that's been a talk of something that they may try to do. It's just that AEW is looking at, I would guess, maybe 14, maybe 18A at some points with their wrestling, with some of the language that they've used on their broadcasts and everything like that. So I think that both programs will probably settle into that 14A rating in 2020 going forward, at least the way that I look at it.
Because that really crossed my mind when I saw the whole Bray Wyatt presentation and package, is because, I mean, that lamp, that is terrifying. Where it has the light in the thing's mouth, it really does look like a human head with the eyes stitched up. I'm like, that is frightening. And they only bring that out, and I think on pay-per-views. They don't put that on TV.
It basically is the decapitated head of Bray Wyatt's former manifestation. Of what he looked like.
And it's terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
That thing is legitimately disturbing.
It's what it is.
What was that image at the end of the? Yeah, but I'm like, this. There's no way this is PG.
No.
Like, they got to be moving to something out of this.
No, it's going to. I think that both companies, both AEW and WWE, are going towards that 14A rating.
Well, I think in that sense, they've pushed the right direction with what they did with Bray Wyatt tonight.
Yeah.
They've established him as basically a horror movie villain. Mm-hmm. But the fans definitely went home completely unsatisfied with what they saw.
No word as of yet, as we record this, of any rioting happening in Sacramento. I hope there isn't. There's no words of any keys being, any cars being keyed in a parking lot or anything like that, or just, people getting shot at or anything or whatever. So Fingers
It's not
crossed.
Vancouver.
Yeah, good point. It's Sacramento, right? But it'll be interesting to see what happens on Raw tomorrow night, obviously, because they'll be moving towards now Crown Jewel, now that they got Hell in a Cell out of the way, and now they can fully put their weight behind the whole Fox thing and Raw and you name it. But it's one of those deals. It's just it's one of those things where I'm really it's night and day. I think we've seen this week the best that a company can offer rolling out in its first manifestation, and off of a high like we've seen on Friday night with SmackDown, which I thought was actually a really good show presentation wise and that stuff, and they were trying a lot of new neat things on that show that are going to garner some attention throughout the fall and into the spring, to what we got tonight. And it's such a they had the thing is that WWE had to rebound. AEW took a bunch away from them on Wednesday from NXT, so they had to rebound off of that SmackDown, and then it goes into the pay-per-view tonight. And man, I'm going to be interested to see what that rating for Raw tomorrow night will be, because I don't think a lot of hardcore fans are going to be watching that show tomorrow.
I can pretty much tell you I won't be.
Yeah. I mean,
it doesn't have my interest.
Yeah. I mean, what are we going to see? We're going to see, probably some more build towards Crown Jewel and, the Legends tag match or whatever. And then, the Tyson Fury Strowman thing will probably get built a little bit. And then they're going to poorly explain this angle. What the hell happened here,
Yeah, exactly. I really don't care for what's going to come up on Raw.
Out of 10, what would you give this pay-per-view in total?
Oh, wow. Okay. This one will get a Bret Hart 4 out of 10.
4 out of 10?
Yeah, absolutely.
See, to me, Stomping Grounds was the worst WWE show of the year. I think that this one comes really close to it. So I'll give it a 6 out of 10. I'll be a little bit more generous because the first two matches were awesome. They were great matches. Becky, Sasha in Hell in a Cell was great, and the tag match was surprisingly well done. I really enjoyed that one because that was out of control. It was a good brawl, and we got a really surprising result off the end of that with the return of almost face Daniel Bryan back again, which I didn't expect. I was like, okay, they're kind of leaning towards that, but I think that, common sense WWE logic is Bryan sides with the Bludgeons and they become kind of his new posse on SmackDown or Raw or wherever he ends up, right? But instead we get, what sounds like or looks like to be the return of Yes-O-Mania Daniel Bryan in a comedy tag team with Roman Reigns, which actually is pretty interesting. That could be a lot of fun. The downside for it to me is you get, and I really like to do women's tag team champs. I like the old champs too, but I think that this is going to be a real nice development in that stuff, and maybe we start seeing the Nikki Cross, Alexa Bliss split now at this point. Maybe they pulled a trigger on that, or maybe they just wait a little bit too. Either way is good with me because I prefer Bliss and Cross as a tag team. Again, we talked about it. I also prefer both of them as separate entities feuding with each other too. That could be a lot of fun. The downside, obviously, the main event is going to be questioned for a long, long time. Orton and Ali, I'm not sure if that match should have happened or not. That was kind of boring. And the last little bit for me would be Bayley's heel character needs to be fleshed out maybe a little bit more so that, okay, if we're going with Crybaby Bayley, that's not necessarily what everybody has pictured, but we can live with it.
That's pretty fair. For me giving it for thoughts, well, I guess for me giving it the 4 out of 10, the fans went away unhappy. They went away unsatisfied. For me personally, you had my attention at the beginning, and then you continued to lose it and lose it and lose it and lose it until I was just angry by the end of it. Mm-hmm. So there's no way I can give this a passing grade of even 5 out of 10. This is a 4 out of 10.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's transition quickly out of this, and I want to do a quick capper off the back end of this show too. So everybody, thanks for staying with us at this point. This is just a quick wrap up, and this might also be its own separate video at another time too. I'll figure out what I'm going to do with it. But while I got you on the line, you saw all the premieres this week and that stuff. I watched all the premieres. What was your most favorite premiere, and what was your least favorite premiere of the entire week?
My favorite premiere of the week, I would have to give to SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you brought back The Rock. There's nothing better.
Yeah.
You had Brock Lesnar on the show. They included a lot of new things. They brought out everybody. It looked pretty good.
Yeah.
SmackDown on Fox is going to be a success, and I really like the show.
Mm-hmm.
My least favorite was Raw.
Yes.
Because although it looked like it was supposed to be a season premiere, it was a lot of the same old, except you changed the setting and the ramp, and you made this little half pipe thing for people to skateboard on, and you changed the announce team to a guy I've never heard of, a guy that is like Michael Cole light, and then you brought back Dre Lawler, which is cool, but was it necessary to flip the entire team like that? I don't know. But it was more same old, and the Rey Mysterio and Brock Lesnar thing was a little, it was all right.
It was explained by the end of the week what that's all about. So at least that's got kind of a movement towards what's going to happen, I guess, between Lesnar and Velasquez.
True, although that was done very poorly.
Yeah. I'd expect it to be a little bit more, with a little bit more fire and a little bit more punch too, but that's what we got. So, my least favorite, I'll have to agree with you, was Raw. I wasn't a fan of that. I thought it started strong, and then the whole Rusev, Lashley, Lana, black guy taking the husband's wife angle is kind of America, so that's too America for me. I guess we'll just put it that way.
That's a little much.
But it's very Maury. It's like, okay, this is essentially the Maria Kanellis angle, but they're playing it out on a bigger stage now with Rusev, Lana, and Lashley of all people now, which is really strange. But that got that. And my favorite, and the show that made me watch it again probably about 4 or 5 times as of the time of recording, and I never watch weekly TV more than once anymore, Tyler. AEW Dynamite. I loved that show. That show was just awesome from start to finish. That was one of my favorite TV shows that I've seen from any company this year at all. It was great.
Wow, yeah. That's interesting.
And it's just eking out SmackDown because I love the production stuff that they've done on SmackDown. It's like they've backed up the production budget, and it's like, let's blow it on SmackDown. And so they got this huge thing, and everything just looked shiny and new and amazing on Friday night. It was great. But AEW Dynamite, I think, was a lot of fun. They had a lot of stories that they're trying to establish. I can't wait to see this whole Chris Jericho faction thing, where it leads to. I can't wait to see, what that the Moxley Omega match at Full Gear, what that's going to lead up to afterwards. The women's belt, what they're doing with Riho with that. And then, of course, the tag team tournament, I guess, starts next week, so we'll find out, who's in the finals for the tag belts. Like, are the Young Bucks going to be the tag champions of their own company, or, is this going to be the Dark Orders thing? Is this going to be, Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy? What do we got, right? So,
are we allowed to break down this one?
If you want to.
Because you know what?
As a bonus?
I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
Yes, let's do it as a bonus.
No,
Because you know what?
We'll do this as some bonus content here, but let me wrap up quickly our Hell in a Cell review by just saying, hey, if you got any social media you want to plug, go ahead and plug it right now.
I truly don't. Okay. I kind of a ghost on social media. You got me on the only way to get me, which is old school, using a telephone.
Okay. No worries. Well, you can follow me on social media at Kellen Nitro, And like and subscribe. Tiny URL. Let me try that again. tinyurl.com/Nitromaniac TV. And stay tuned. We're going to, well, you know what? We'll sit down, myself and Tyler here, and we're going to break down AEW Dynamite and kind of discuss here what we liked and what we didn't like off of that in a separate video. But for now, later days, happy wrestling watching. We'll see you next time on Nitromaniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited.